Hey, welcome to this lesson. Today what we're going to be discussing is adding a new concept to all those concepts we used in the previous lesson around reality, and that's the concept of innocence. Now, the reason why this is really important to introduce at the start is because, as we will see when we get down into Maya's dream, that we're always going to be unconsciously trying to recapture our sense of innocence because it is who we actually are. And we will also see that Maya does actually provide a strategy for us to recapture it. But unfortunately, it's a substitute type of innocence, just as it's a substitute type of love that she offers. And therefore, if it's not the authentic innocence, then we're always going to be left outside of that state, and therefore we're always going to be unconsciously trying to get back to it. So if we don't actually understand this, then we can be on the treadmill going round and round and round and not actually getting to the goal that we're actually unconsciously seeking, which is our natural innocence. So innocence, what is it? So we could describe it like this. It's a state of everything being right, but more specifically, it's a state of everything being right about ourselves. So if we remember from the previous lesson that who we really are in reality is the Sat Chidanandana, and that is eternal, it's unchanging, and it's self-sustaining. So if we knew ourselves as that, then we would know that everything is right about ourselves. And when there's everything right about ourselves, then it's naturally going to be in a state, we're going to naturally be in a state of innocence. And if we're going to be in a state of innocence, then we could say that that's an all-encompassing feeling of love, a unity of love, a oneness. So that's why it's really important to understand that that's what innocence actually is representing, and also that Sat Chidananda is the home of innocence. That whenever we're outside of that home, as I mentioned before, we're always going to be unconsciously seeking to get back to it. And the reason why we will be doing that is because we'd have a sense of doing something wrong. And when we have that sense of doing something wrong, that introduces the concept of feeling guilty. And guilt demands punishment, and so therefore the experience when we're outside of our natural innocence is going to be a fearful experience. However, if we don't know how to actually alleviate the problem, then we can't get rid of it, and we can't get back to the goal that we're actually unconsciously desiring. So that's what obviously we'll be discussing in a lot more minute detail as we move forward. All of these different concepts and how they work together, and also how to obviously go about recapturing what we're always actually desiring, which is our state of natural innocence. So yeah, moving forward over, when you're going about your day, just start to be aware that the driver that everything you're really doing is an unconscious driver to try to get back. If we're down in a dream, is always unconsciously trying to get back to our state of who we really are. So therefore, everything we're trying to do is trying to recapture our state of innocence. And also notice all the people around you are also doing the same thing unconsciously. And just start being aware of all the ways that they're actually trying to do that, and seeing that a lot of the times they're actually maladaptive because they cause more and more problems, not only for themselves, but for people outside of themselves. So if we can start to understand that the intention is right with what everybody's actually trying to do, but the strategy is wrong, then we can start to understand that maybe, Maya is deceiving the dreamer who's lost in a dream, and deceiving it in a way that it thinks it's going to get what it's actually desiring, but it's doing it in a way that it's never going to actually achieve it. So if we can be aware of this, then we're going to be less taken into her deceptions and illusions, and therefore if we're no longer taken into these deceptions, then we can actually start going in the direction and following a path that will get us to the goal that we're always unconsciously seeking anyway. And that's obviously what we're outlining through this teaching series. So as always, keep the conversation going down below. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next lesson.